Here we're up close with the 2024 Mustang. This is the Dark Horse, and it has this dark blue metallic paint. And all three of the new Mustangs have slightly different front ends. The fascia is a little bit different here. So we can see that the headlights are actually inspired by the Mustang Mach-E with this triple LED style headlight. What's interesting about the Dark Horse is we've got this lower splitter here, very reminiscent of the Mach-1, and we also have fairly large air intakes in the front too. This has got a much more vertical nose than the current generation Mustang. It's definitely a little bit more aggressive looking. What I think is interesting is this sort of dark insert that we got here below the headlights, which sort of make it stand out as, I guess, the Dark Horse. So some specific design features here. Overall, this is not a whole lot different from the exterior of the current S550 generation Mustang. They didn't talk a lot about any sort of major chassis changes that they did to this car last night. Perhaps there are some, but they haven't really been revealed yet. We've got some rather aggressive Pirelli Trofeo RS tires on here. The P0s looking quite good, 305 section tires. Looks like we got some 6-piston Brembos up front, and we do have this brand new logo here for the Dark Horse. Proportions, of course, are very, very similar. The wheelbase is unchanged from the S550 Mustang, and the only thing that really remains from the S550 is the roofline. Pretty much every other body panel is the same. I do like these rear fenders here that look very, very aggressive. Look at how much of this arch extends over the wheel well here. It's got a real aggressive kind of line, flows into the taillights, and I think the taillights are absolutely stunning. We've got this real sharp V cutout here. This car is much more chiseled than the last generation. Very functional wing in the back here too, and then we have this lower valence with these very, very aggressive exhaust pipes here. This is very reminiscent of the S550 Mustang in the back too, but they've definitely made everything a little bit more chiseled, a little bit more crisp looking in my mind, and it looks really, really good in person. I really like the proportions of it. I think they've done a great job carrying over the heritage of the current generation Mustang and not updating it too much, so they're not really alienating the buyers. And what is really interesting too is what they didn't tell us is that there is no electrification here at all. There's no talk of that. There's no discussion of that. What we do have is the 5-liter Coyote engine making now 500 horsepower in the Dark Horse, and it has the connecting rods from the GT500 engine, so it's going to be able to handle a little bit more power. I'd imagine you could probably throw a supercharger on here and make a whole bunch of power fairly easily with this car. So let me know your thoughts on this. And we're going to take a look at some of the other versions in just a second to take a look at the different noses that we've got on this thing. And from a design perspective, I think this 3/4 angle is probably the best. I think this looks really, really good. I really like the aesthetic that they're going here. I think the wheels look fantastic too. It looks lower visually. It looks more muscular visually. The roofline looks lower, but I don't think it really is. They say they have reduced or lowered the belt line a little bit. It's sort of hard to see that here, but it definitely has a really aggressive look. And with the Dark Horse, what we're getting here is MagneRide suspension, which can adapt 1,000 times per second. We have a larger set of anti-sway bars. We've got some springs which are probably specific to this vehicle too. There's going to be some other specific performance and handling improvements, but they haven't been real forthcoming with exactly what those things are going to be on the Dark Horse compared to the regular GT. But if you want performance, this is absolutely the one to get. We don't have any pricing right now, but considering that the Mach-1 goes for about $62,000, I think we can expect this to start at probably no less than $65,000 for this Dark Horse. And this does come with the Tremec 6-speed manual transmission, and you can also get a 10-speed automatic as an option. Now, they said they revised the Tremec a little bit last night at the debut, but they didn't talk about the 10-speed, so I think we're going to get a carryover from the 10-speed. So this is a lot of carryover from the last generation vehicle. They did talk about improving the handling a little bit. They don't have any details for us yet specifically what that means, but we're going to find out pretty soon. let's take a look at one of these other cars. Of course, the GT carries over with the convertible. You got some beautiful looking wheels here, and of course the prominent 5.0 badge. One thing that we get on the hood compared with the regular EcoBoost is we do get this hood vent over here, which is kind of unique. And so looking at the nose of this compared to the Dark Horse, it's a little bit less aggressive. We don't have the lower splitter. The centerpiece, or rather the piece right below the headlight, is in body color as opposed to that dark matte plastic, and the opening is a little bit less aggressive looking. So everything's a little bit more toned down here with the GT version. So the GT is probably going to be the second most popular vehicle. You do get a carryover transmission. I'm guessing it's the MT82 transmission, which is not well loved or well received. You do get the option of a 10-speed automatic in here too. And this has got the 4th generation Coyote engine, which now makes 480 horsepower. So they're talking about this being about the same power that the Mach 1 was for the last generation. So not much of a power bump, but we were at 450 at the end of the 2022 run. So they bumped it up a little bit. We had it was at 460, but now we went down to 450 due to emissions. So now we're back up at 480 or so. I don't think we're going to see a lot of difference in performance and acceleration numbers with these cars. It's probably going to weigh about the same. I'm guessing, if anything, it's going to have a little bit more weight in it than before. So it might be, I'm guessing, about the same acceleration, 0 to 60 times with this. Just for reference, here is the current Mach 1 Mustang. So we can see this has a different set of headlights. It's much more rounded looking. The new one is definitely more squared off, a little bit more chunky, a little bit more chiseled, a little bit more boxy, I guess you could say. We still have this very aggressive lower aerodynamic here that's available on this, but everything's a little bit more rounded out, and the headlights are definitely sort of more round looking compared to the new version. So the exterior has been updated, but not significantly. This is still pretty much a carryover from the S550 in terms of the chassis, I think. They haven't given us a lot of details about that. It sounds like the transmissions are a carryover too. I'm a little bit concerned about the MT82 6-speed manual transmission that is available with the GT. I wish they had brought the Tremec over across the entire line. This does get the Tremec, the 10-speed automatic transmission, which I think is okay, but it doesn't have the best programming. That sounds like it's a carryover too. So we don't know if they've really done a lot of revisions to those core elements of the car. If you like this video, there's another one right over here. My name is Eric. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching.